Good to have you back with us here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary, bracing for the big storm this weekend here in Washington, D.C. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team bring you this production daily. We start the news with Ed Schultz on Monday. Coming up from the RT studios here in Washington, D.C. every night, Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock. You can get RT on Dish and on Direct. And they've got a huge presence on YouTube. You know, in the media, you can always find someone that's going to give you a little bit of cover. Or you can find someone who is politically aligned with you that's going to let you stake your claim on exactly what happened. So here is Governor Rick Snyder explaining on Cut 6 on the big list today about, how in the world could this have ever happened in Flint, Michigan? Doggone it, there's lead in the water. Well, I guess this is what it is.
Yeah, in terms of the change itself, it was a broader effort in terms of saying they wanted to change their water system to a new water authority, and it was actually voted for by the city council, and it was ratified by the emergency manager. It was
hold on. Ho. It was decided by the city emergency manager that Snyder appointed, and then the city council went along with it so they wouldn't be targeted in the next election. Okay, so we got that straight? Let's hear that garbage one more time.
Yeah, in terms of the change itself, it was a broader effort in terms of saying they wanted to change their water system to a new water authority, and it was actually voted for by the city council, and it was ratified by the emergency manager. It was a 7-1 vote of the city council to leave the Detroit water system. The emergency manager ratified it after they made that vote.
And that was a decision to save money, I think, right, Governor?
Well, again, it would also reduce their cost in some ways, but I believe they wanted their independence, and it was a countywide decision.
No. God, listen to this guy. They wanted their independence. They want their independence. They were going to be marching down the streets of Flint. We no longer get our water from Detroit. We're independent, and we're going to prove it, so we're going to drink this lead water out of the Flint River. It is amazing to me that this guy goes virtually unchallenged in some corners of the media trying to explain how they screwed up. This is all an effort to privatize and make money, and it was to make money. Lonnie Scott, Executive Director of Progress Michigan, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Break it down for us. I mean, is Snyder telling the truth?
Well, he's telling his version of the truth, Ed. The simple fact of the matter here is that the emergency manager, based on the law that the Republicans passed once Snyder was first elected, comes in with the total authority and takes away all democracy from the city elected officials and the city mayor. So anything that emergency manager wanted to do, essentially, they had the authority to do that. And while city council may have wanted to switch away from the Detroit water system, it was the emergency manager who decided that they weren't going to continue using Detroit in the interim, that they were going to switch to the Flint River. And that's what happened. The emails that the governor released 2 days ago actually show that the final decision was ultimately made by then Treasurer Andy Dillon, who works
There's no
for
question.
Snyder.
And now this email dump is what I'm calling it, has got a lot of redacted material in it. Now you've got the governor of Michigan who is going to be testifying in front of Congress. The House Oversight Committee hearing is going to take place on February 3rd. According to the Detroit Free Press, spokesperson for U.S. Representative Brenda Lawrence, who filed a request for the hearing, says witnesses are requested to attend but might not show. So a spokesperson for Snyder tells Newsweek that the office hasn't received information from the committee regarding a possible hearing. The Attorney General in Michigan is also investigating what happened here. What's the end game here as you see it from your perspective, being the Executive Director of Progress Michigan?
Well, it's really hard to tell. I mean, and we should talk about the Attorney General launching an investigation.
Go ahead.
He said up until, really until national media was beating down Michigan's door about this issue, he had told folks here that he wasn't interested in investigating, and that. So I think it's interesting the timing where he decided that it was prudent for him to actually do an investigation. So
I'm told he's a big conservative, but he doesn't like Snyder. Is that right?
Yeah, they're not real friendly. That's for sure.
And he's up for election. He wants to run again. So this could be political meat for him on Snyder.
It could be. The interesting thing there is that it's widely expected that his biggest competitor in the gubernatorial race would be now Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley. And so if Governor Snyder resigns or is removed from office, that would mean that Calley would be the acting governor, and our Attorney General Bill Schuette would be running against then a sitting governor. So there's a lot of political implications there, and so I'm not sure how that plays out. But you asked about the end game. It's really hard to tell. I mean, you have Snyder, who at some points, seems very emotional and genuine about feeling bad, but then still is not being transparent or accountable to the people of Flint. I mean, we just released yesterday emails that we had found, and that shows that the emails that the governor did release, his email dump, actually doesn't tell the whole story, which we expected widely when he announced that he would be releasing those. So I don't think we really know what's going on until Governor Snyder drops his executive exemption and releases all the emails, including those of his chief of staff and his other executive-level staff, so that we know and get a clear picture of what was actually happening and being talked about in the governor's office.
Now, the governor's chief of staff recently resigned, although I'm told that his retirement was imminent because he's an old dude. But he did send an email, it was revealed in this email dump, back in September to the governor saying, you know what, this state health officials are very concerned about the water quality in Flint. This could turn out to be a political football. Which leads me to believe that they were more concerned about political ramifications than they were about the state health officials saying, hey, the people in Flint are consuming contaminated water that is poisonous.
Yeah,
lead poison. Right. I mean, how do you get around that?
Well, I think that's right. I think, the governor came in and has always said that he wanted to run Michigan like a business. And the fact of the matter is that when you run things like a business and the bottom line is all that you look at, you miss out on the people. And the people here are important. These are not numbers on a spreadsheet, Ed. These are real people. These are children who for decades, for their entire life, will be affected by this. Generations coming from Flint that are going to be affected by this. And simply put, the state let them down. The officials that should have protected them. My belief is that government's core purpose is to keep their people safe. And, they failed. But I think that it's important to point out that, even looking just at the switch of the water misses a lot of the story, because Flint really could be any poor city in America. Republican austerity policies have contributed to all of this. I mean, it's decades of neglecting
This is Republican policy. That's what this is. The Democrats didn't do this. We got to be very clear about this. No progressive signed off on lousy water going into Flint, and taking water out of the Flint River. Look, this cuts to the Environmental Protection Agency. Republicans want to get rid of that. There's some who have campaigned that they'd get rid of the EPA because it would hurt business. I mean, there's just no end to what these people want to do. All right, I appreciate your time, Lonnie Scott. We'll talk again. The end game. Somebody's got to come up with $1 billion to fix this. The president's engaged in it now. It's on the campaign trail. Hillary Clinton and, of course, Bernie Sanders have talked about this. But Flint can do the country a favor by going through this in some strange way that we know not what to do in the future with municipalities. But it all stems from these right-wing governors who were elected in 2010 that have tried to outbusiness one another. They wanted to attack unions. They wanted to attack public education. They wanted to take over utilities and privatize everything. I'm talking about Scott in Florida, Christie in New Jersey, Kasich in Ohio went after the unions. You got Walker in Wisconsin. You got Corbett in Pennsylvania. And you got this loser, Snyder, in Michigan. That's what this is all about. They came in on the Tea Party wave that they could run a more efficient and better government, and now look what we have.
Absolutely. And the entire wave. We've got to get rid of all of them from the top down. I mean, it's the same thing in the state legislature. The voters of Michigan voted to overturn the emergency management law, and 5 weeks later, the legislature passed almost an exact same law. Only they put an appropriation in it so that the Michigan voters couldn't repeal it again.
Yeah, that's just how rotten they are. That's how they are. Great to have you with us, Lonnie. We'll do it again. Appreciate your time.